So a lot of people have an interest or have their sights set on getting a certification at some point related to cybersecurity. You have a number of options there, whatever particular area of cybersecurity you're interested in. There's probably a certification out there that is lucrative for you, and you probably have your sights set on. Now, with that being said, a question that a lot of people have is, well, how do I know when I'm ready to sign up for that certification? How do I know when I'm ready to sort of shoot my shot and go for the certification? Or perhaps, there's definitely a lot of people as well that maybe they have a plan already in place. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll start on my certification. First I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, and then I should be ready for the certification. Well, what I have to say in this video might change your mind if you're one of those people. Hey guys, this is Ryan from Elevate Cyber. In this video, I wanted to really help answer the question that I'm sure a lot of people have, and that is, when should you actually enroll in the certification that you want to go for? When should you go ahead and pull the trigger on that? So this is a pretty common question, a pretty common sort of concern for a lot of people that not only in this field, but just across the board. A lot of times people wonder, well, when should I get started? I don't feel I'm ready yet, but when I've done X, Y, and Z, then I'll be ready. I actually kind of push back on this notion that you should wait for, until you've done this, this, and that in order to start. I think you should start today. You should start right away. Because that is one of the biggest issues, that a lot of people have is, they wait for the stars to align to even get started, right? Getting started is just as it suggests. That is the start, If you want to get to your end goal, to your end state, the sooner you start, the sooner you will reach the end, right? It's kind of like if your goal is to go through a maze, for example, right? Well, I guess you can research the most optimal way to get through mazes and stuff like that, and that might certainly help. That might give you a little bit of insight, I guess. But ultimately, if you want to get through the maze as soon as possible, you need to get started you just need to enter the maze, right? And, you might make some mistakes, some wrong turns along the way, but eventually you will get through that maze. Now, with certifications, you have the added benefit of being able to study the stuff while you're already going for it, right? But basically what I want to say is, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to just jump right in, get your feet wet, get started. Even if you look at some of the most difficult certifications, like the OSCP, the CISSP, I've known many people that have passed those certifications as even complete beginners. A lot of people have the notion of, these certifications are really difficult, and they are. I can definitely say, as someone who has taken those certifications, they are certainly difficult. However, I have also known many people that jumped right in from the start, and they learned along the way, and they got those certifications. Now, maybe not on their first try, maybe not on their second try, but the ones that stuck it through ultimately did get the certification. There's nothing to really be afraid of. If you go for it and you fail, then you fail. Now, I guess maybe the monetary side might be another thing to speak of. Yeah, if you go for something like that and your company doesn't pay for it, your attempt, and you fail, maybe you have to pay a little bit of extra money to go for it again. But ultimately, experience is the best practice. That's the best form of practice you could possibly get. So if you are out there getting experience, hands-on experience, then that's going to accelerate you towards your destination faster than anything else ever could, right? Like, let's put another example here in front of us, right? Let's say you're just a little kid, right? You're a little toddler, and you want to learn how to ride a bike. You can read books all day about how to ride a bike. Like your parents could read you children's books explaining to you how to ride a bike. But even after all these hours of reading about it, the first time you step on the bike and try to ride it, you're probably still going to have a hard time. You're still going to struggle. You're still probably going to fall down off the bike. But eventually, through trial and error, through practice, you will learn how to do it. Now, were those books completely useless? Maybe. But, I mean, most likely, you probably learned a few things from it that might make it a little bit easier and quicker for you to learn it. Cool. But ultimately, where you learned it was the time that you spent actually trying to ride that bike, right? You know, someone can read to you all about like martial arts, like jujitsu or something. They could teach you all the different positions, and this is what you should do when you're here, this is what you should do when you're there. But ultimately, you're going to be super lost when you first go to roll against someone, and you're going to learn over time by, you know, showing up consistently to the dojo and practicing jiu-jitsu, right? You're not going to learn it from a book, right? It's the same thing with cybersecurity stuff, right? There's a certain amount of stuff that you can learn from studying, but ultimately it's a different experience when you are actually in there going for it. Now, there's a lot of knowledge-based stuff, certainly. It's not, you could make the argument that they're different things, right? Riding a bike is not really a knowledge-based thing, it's more of a muscle memory thing, right? Whereas in security, there are some muscle memory things, perhaps you could say, when it comes to just the experience of knowing what tools to use and what commands to run to enumerate this service versus that service. Yeah, sure. But there definitely is the argument that there is a lot more knowledge-based things in security versus some skill like riding a bike or something like that. And to that effect, I would say, yes, there is. And it definitely helps for you to learn that. But you're going to learn everything you need to know to get a certification by actually going for that certification and trying it, right? Because you're going to encounter issues. I talk about this all the time on the channel as well. Learn things on an as-needed basis. Well, when you're actually going for the thing that you want, the problems that you're going to face are going to be exactly the things that you need to learn. So it's going to really help you target your learning experience based off of what you actually need to learn to get the results that you want to get. So, for example, right, if you're going for the OSCP and you realize one of my weaknesses is, I don't know, buffer overflow. And the way you'd know that is you were in the labs, and when you encountered the buffer overflow boxes, those were the ones you were struggling on. Well, now it's a lot easier for you to study specifically towards buffer overflows. Like, okay, let me go out there on the CTF sites and see if there's any good buffer overflow boxes that I can work on and practice that, target that specifically. And then when you go to take the exam, you're already strong in that area now, and you have that much greater chance of passing the certification. Whereas if you didn't even get started, you wouldn't even know that you had that as a weakness in the first place, perhaps. And you might have a lot of other weaknesses too, because you didn't really train those like you would if you actually went for it, right? It's very easy for life to pass us by if we allow it to. It's very easy to say, okay, once this happens, then and this happens, then I'll get started, right? Ultimately, if the OSCP is something that you even want, it doesn't have to be either. I just talk about OSCP a lot because I know a lot of you guys are going for that. That was one that I've had experience with in the past. But, you know, even if it's something else completely unrelated, like you want to get a new job, a higher paying job, well, don't wait on, I'll do that once the holidays are over and once, I don't know, name X, Y, or Z condition that needs to be met, and then you'll start. Almost in every situation, the answer to that question is start now, right? Start right now. Like they say, the best time to find a job is while you already have a job. That's very true. So wherever you're at, I encourage you guys to start today. And definitely let me know down in the comments section below, what are some things you're looking at? What are some things that you might have been on the fence about and that you're going to go ahead and get started with? So with that being said, if you've been enjoying this content so far, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also hit the like button. And one thing I'll close out with in saying is that I am getting started on this YouTube channel this year. I really want to drive home some quality content for you guys, which is why I'm not following my own advice, right, and getting started on the OSCP. One thing that I realize where I'm at right now, the job that I have is actually really sustainable over the course of the craziness that's happening in today's world, in today's landscape. It's a really secure job for that. And I know that if I were to go for the OSCP right now, right, for one thing, I don't need it because I already have a pretty good paying job. I suppose it would help if I wanted to jump over to another job right now. But another thing is, if I would go for that right now, I would not be able to make quality content for you guys like this, right? Because the OSCP, as you guys that are going for it right now, you can attest to this. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And I'm here to support you guys with that and with quality content. And I'll definitely be covering the topics that are covered there, the technical content and all of that stuff, the motivational content most certainly. But if I were to go for that today, the thing is I would be spending about 5 or 6 hours a day doing the labs. And the only videos, because the nature of offensive security is, I couldn't actually record me doing OSCP lab boxes. That's against the policy, right? So I would end up just having to do the vlog style videos back like I did in 2018, where I would just be talking about my experiences, which definitely check those out if that sounds interesting to you. I've done that before. I had weekly videos where I talked about my experience with the OSCP labs. But I wouldn't really have time to make technical content for you guys, to make this type of content for you guys. So it's not a priority for me, but, depending on where you are in your career and your goals, maybe it is important to you. And to that, I would say get started today. So that's pretty much all I had. I will see you guys in the next video.